laws about vows. And Moses spoke to the head of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. If a man vows a vow to the Lord, or swears an oath to bind himself with a bond, he will not break his word. He will do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. If a woman makes a vow to the Lord, and binds herself a bind while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears her vow and her bond with the child she has bonded herself, and her father in silence to her, then all her vows will stand, and every bond which she has bonded herself will stand. But if her father restrains her in the day he hears, none of her vows or her bonds which she said had bound herself will stand, and the Lord will forgive her because her father restrained her. If she had a husband when she vowed, or uttered anything out of her lip with which is she bonded herself, and her husband heard it, was silent, or heard in the day he heard that, then her vow will stand, and her bonds will which she bonded herself will stand. But if her husband restrains her on that day that he heard it, then he will make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, with which she bonded herself with of no fear, and the Lord will forgive her. But every vow of a widow, and of that is divorced, with which she has bonded herself, will stand against her. If she vowed in her husband's house, or bounded herself by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it and was silent to her and did not restrain her, then all her vows will stand, and every bond in which she bonded herself will stand. But if her husband has clearly violated them on the day then he heard them, then whatever proceed out of her lips concerning the vow of the considering the bond of herself will not stand. Her husband has voided them, and the Lord will forgive her. Every vow and every bidding oath of afflict her soul to it says every vow and every binding oath to afflict her soul, her husband may establish, or her husband may nullify. But if her husband says nothing to her from the day to day, then he confirms all her vows of or all her pledges which binds her. He confirms that because he said nothing to her on the day that he heard them. But if clearly makes them void after he has heard them, then he will bear her iniquity. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, and between the father and his daughter, while she is still young and in her father's house.